My biography. I was born in the USSR in a city that constantly changed names. My father was a hydrogen bomb test engineer, and we lived in a secret place where, after the war, the best minds were brought to work on the nuclear program. In a new town with no old people, he met my mother, who had been brought there to work as a teacher. I have been drawing and creating since childhood, and living in scientific city, which according to the plan was to be a socialist paradise, it was, to put it mildly, unusual. As strange as it for me to talk about it now. By nature, I entered the Moscow Aviation Institute, where I only liked to draw illustrations for my lecture notes. Aviation didn't work out. So, in Perestroika, I started a children's design studio, which stopped working in only when the dolls started to bring in a steady income. By that time, I had already taken part in many exhibitions in Moscow, Washington, Prague, Tallinn, St. Petersburg. It was interesting. There were different clients. There was a big series of dolls for a hotel, there were portrait series and character series. In that time, I have managed to get a degree in art history, as well as divorce a couple of idiot husbands, win a battle with cancer, take a break from art and get back to work. I had no plans to become a teacher again, but I was persuaded by those who came to my exhibitions. In the end, it grew into a conceptual format of a workshop where people with a passion of dolls can come together. My workshop exists both online and offline. It was not in my plans to move abroad. Since 2022, I live in Barcelona with part of my family. Thanks to Vladimir Putin, who unleashed a bloody war in Ukraine and installed a fascist regime in Russia. Back in 1991, with my first husband, I went to White House to defend democracy, when tanks were driving all over Red Square. And the whole world was once again looking at us with bated breath. All those Russians with their bombs. The history of mankind could have developed differently. I don't believe in fate. I believe in will and freedom of choice. Regardless of where you were born and who your ancestors were, you make the choice between good and evil, between beauty and ugliness, every day by yourself. I encourage you to be strong and also subscribe to my YouTube and Instagram, where I'll be talking about dolls, history and artists. Also enroll in my classes, in person and online, or purchase my course on making an articulate doll from scratch, which is equally useful for the neophyte as well as for the artist with experience. In this life, you have to be able to protect yourself. Like any self-respecting woman, I once had an abusive relationship, not to my honor. It turned into a decade-long marriage. The main lesson I learned from it was that you can't deny yourself subjectivity situations that affect you. I made decisions that took me away from my work, and as a result, I ended up in the wrong place with the wrong person and with a cancer diagnosis. Thanks God, everything ended happily. And most importantly, thank the surgeons for whom miracles are routine. We often find reflections of the fate of our motherland in our own lives. So my story reminded of a fateful chapter in the collapse of the Red Empire that I witnessed with my own eyes. I have students in the US and England, and it sometimes pains me to discuss Russia's war in Ukraine, because rarely do they remember the commitments these two nations, along with Russia, made in 1994. Here is a Wikipedia article on the Budapest Memorandum. Read it if you are interested. In brief, until Ukraine gave up its nuclear capabilities after independence, it was the third largest nuclear weapons stockpile. In return, the US, UK and Russia pledged to guarantee its security. Well, we all know what that turned out. I don't know if it was the right decision to give up the weapon, but I do know that I shouldn't make myself dependent on anyone else. As soon as I started to put someone else's interests ahead of my own, every cell in my body started to protest. So in a way, I am grateful for the cancer. It was the end of an oppressive relationship and a good reason to start another new life. And of course, the dolls helped me in this. Thanks to dolls, I found support in those who needed me. In Russia, I had local popularity because of exhibitions, so I was able to gather a group of artists and enthusiasts that achieve financial independence. At the time of my divorce, I went through surgery, recovery, movement, and the launch of my studio. This period is more pleasant to talk about than to experience. But freedom doesn't come easy. Freedom is not given at all, it can only be taken. To summarize, I have been feeling great for several years now, and I can't complain about life. And all thanks to the fact that in time I took my chance for a new life. Don't miss your chances and help Ukraine. It is Ukraine that stands up for the values of the free world for all of us. My plans. There are times when I make dolls to order and it tends to be long and expensive, I'll be honest. Here is a pottery doll that will be leaving me soon and wants to wave goodbye to you. But my main project that I'm actively developing now is dolls dedicated to Barcelona. It is a series, a few pieces are almost finished. I'm carving a few of them out of wood. Any prototyping is not a simple technical process, only partly related to creativity. Now we have almost created a 3D model based on 3D scanning, and we are already cutting out the individual parts, which I will then have to process and paint. It's all mundane stuff, but like my hero Wes Anderson, about whom I will tell you in the next part, I have always dreamed of creating whole worlds, and this is my small step in this direction. I plan to create a comics about a living doll Carmen who discovers herself in an antique shop in the center of Barcelona, gifted with a consciousness. The series will delve into a magical reality where everyday objects possess hidden characteristics only a select few can perceive. The series would explore the themes of identity, self-discovery, friendship, and the magic everyday life through the lens of an inquisitive doll coming to life in one of the world's most vibrant cities. I will publish it in the public places, but I plan to create the plot together with my patrons. I think that within a couple of months I will start Patreon to post the first issue, including here, so subscribe. In addition to the virtual world, I've started creating characters for my Barcelona series. You've already seen Gothic, Barceloneta is almost ready, Eixample will be ready soon. A lot of things will be coming soon, but unfortunately not everything can be done instantly. And that's within a whole bunch of people helping me. A new life doesn't happen in a week. But that's the interest of it, the continued momentum in the pursuit of happiness. My Wes Anderson. And since the leitmotif of this issue is nuclear bombs, I want to share my impression of the new Wes Anderson film, Asteroid City. It is a fresh film, I won't retell it, I will just recommend it to you briefly and confidently. It is not hard to guess that my favorite of his tapes are Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs. Both films involved a complex puppetry, a form of animation that requires painstaking detail and precision. Fantastic Mr. Fox is an adaptation of Roald Dahl's children's novel of the same name. It was Anderson's first venture into stop-motion animation. A technique that involves creating physical puppets and sets, then photographing them frame by frame to create the illusion of motion. Creating the puppets for Fantastic Mr. Fox was a highly complex and labor-intensive process. The puppet department was led by Andy Gent, a seasoned puppet maker, and his team, which was responsible for creating the various animal characters, each with their unique characteristics. Characters were designed with a particular emphasis on their fur, which had been groomed and arranged frame by frame to maintain consistency through the animation. One challenge faced during production was the fur would move between frames, causing an unintended shimmering effect in the final film. However, Wes Anderson liked this unplanned effect and decided to keep it. The figures were built at Mackinton & Saunders, a company renowned for creating high-quality animation puppets. Each puppet had an armature, a metal skeleton inside it that allowed to be posed in numerous ways. The puppets varied in size, with the smallest being around 10 cm tall and the largest being around 30 cm tall. Each character required multiple versions to accommodate the different scales required for various scenes. Anderson's second foray into stop-motion animation was Isle of Dogs. This film was more ambitious and complex than Fantastic Mr. Fox in terms of its puppets and sets. The puppet department, once again led by Andy Gent, crafted over 1,000 puppets for the film. The human characters were designed with an aesthetic influenced by Japanese art. Given the film's setting, while the dogs were carefully designed to give each one a unique personality. The complexity of the puppets increased significantly with the Isle of Dogs. The animators needed more flexibility with the dog characters, given their wide range of expressions and emotions. As a result, the puppets uses replaceable parts, particularly for the faces, which allowed for a wide range of emotion and movement. These were 3D printed to maintain precision, which was a technological advancement compared to the techniques used for Fantastic Mr. Fox. The sizes of puppets varied depending on the needs of the skin. For example, the team created 30 cm tall Mr. Fox for close-up shots and a smaller version for wider shots. Similarly, in the Isle of Dogs, the puppet team made dogs of different scales to cater to the filming requirements. Just like real actors, these puppets had their own hairstylists who were responsible for combining and styling their fur or hair for each individual frame. For Fantastic Mr. Fox, around 500 individual puppets were created. For Isle of Dogs, this number more than doubled. Over 1,000 unique puppets were crafted for the film. These creatures are not actually dolls, but they are characters living in separate new life in each frame, until the next frame in which that character is modified with a new pose, head or facial expression. Be sure to subscribe and like.